The push for political correctness on college campuses is leaving students brainwashed and out of touch. But it could also be creating an entire generation that will be unable to even defeat terrorism because it hurts their feelings to label it. I wanted to see just how clueless they've gotten, so we sent Campus Reform's Cabot Phillips to find out.
Do you think we should be using the word radical Islam in talking about ISIS, or do you think that term may be too offensive to use and could offend people too much?
No, that's definitely wrong.
It might be on the more offensive side.
There's been domestic terrorism with like Christian groups, for example, and you don't really call them, you don't go around saying like radical Christianism or radical Catholic, things like that, right?
Which attacks would those be?
I can't name them from the top of my head,
okay.
But I know that. I'm trying to think. There's certain churches. I can't name anything,
okay.
But it's on the top of my head.
Really, most of the people who are saying we can't say radical Islamic terrorism also don't want to acknowledge that there's a radical wing of the Islam religion.
I just don't really like grouping people into that and kind of singling out Islam as a violent religion.
You think of the KKK and they're a Christian organization. Would you call them radical Christians?
It's not people killing others in the name of Christianity or killing people in the name of atheism. It is a seemingly unique problem to Islam. By not addressing the threat as radical Islam, which it is, you're not actually going to get anywhere in defeating it. What was your response to that?
Focusing more on acceptance and rehabilitation of extremist groups, kind of figuring out why they're extremists.
There's very strong, deep-seated fear in the United States that's often, in my opinion, irrational.
Phillips joins me now, along with comedian Adam Carolla, who's part of the new film No Safe Spaces, an effort to end the left's brainwashing on college campuses. So, Cabot, I'll start with you. I couldn't see your collar on that video. That was very confusing. Also, my favorite part of the video is when the person says they want to have acceptance and rehabilitation for terrorists.
Love leads the way. If we just love these terrorists into not wanting to kill us, then they'll stop, clearly. But what we're seeing here are the real-world impacts of this PC culture, for anyone wondering what are the long-term impacts. And I don't think it just stems from nowhere. The left has been pushing this. We know this. And for the last 8 years, President Obama in the White House refused to say it. And so when we saw President Trump catching all of this heat for using this term radical Islam following the London attacks, we thought, how does this translate on college campuses? And I think most students, they just are giving these prepared answers that they know they're expected to give, which is the sad part.
Yeah, they're not being independent thinkers. So, Adam, we had your producer friend on here last week, and I couldn't believe what he said about these safe spaces. You go into a safe space because you are unable to deal with the harsh realities of the real world, and they give you hot chocolate and blankets. Is that really true?
I don't know. I've never been to one. I only go to construction sites and the occasional strip club. But that's what I hear.
And man's man, Adam. A real man's man.
You know what I hear in that video, and this is where the danger is we are grafting our own feelings onto ISIS. So we're saying, hey, if you just treat them with respect and just get along and show some love and maybe give them a hug, they'll drop their swords and stop burning pilots. This is what caused 9/11. Think about 9/11. 9/11 was who would fly an airplane into a building, because if you fly an airplane into the building, how are you going to parachute out of the airplane? And someone would go, no, you're just going to fly it into the building. And you'd go, well, who's going to do that? You'd be the first person to hit the building if you're flying the plane. We can't think like them. Thus, it's going to leave us vulnerable.
So if someone ever would attempt to hug a terrorist, I think they'd get their throats slit pretty quickly. When you're out on these college campuses, and I've done this too, there's not an acknowledgement of the harsh and dangerous realities of radical Islam. Is there?
There's not at all, and I really want to go to some of these safe spaces, show up, kind of rattle them around, maybe bring some gluten to scare all these people off the safe spaces. And what it is these students, it's not that they don't fear anything, it's that they fear the wrong things. So,
Adam, this movie that you're doing with Prager, No Safe Spaces, it's not getting Hollywood funding. Why do you think that is? And before you answer, I just want to play a little clip for the audience so they can see what it's all about.
Okay.
Helping them discover their true gender, sexuality, and racial identity.
We judge people based on racial origin and history of oppression.
We call it the progressive stack.
I'm Black.
I'm Hispanic.
I'm Asian.
I'm a student at Utopia University.
Utopia University. So Hollywood doesn't want to fund this film, so you're trying to raise money in other ways. Is that right?
Well, to be fair to Hollywood, they probably have 150 anti-fracking movies in the pipeline. And I was thinking about this. I bet we won't be able to say "in the pipeline" anymore.
That's offensive. That's
oil-centric.
That's right. You mentioned something when you spoke to our producer, Adam, that I think it was Seinfeld and Chris Rock. They don't even tour on college campuses anymore because everybody's so sensitive, they can't even handle any of the cutting-edge humor.
Yeah, I mean, for those guys, they're millionaires 20 times over or 120 times over. And it's basically, why go down and try to feed the homeless community if somebody put a shank in you last time you went down there with your plate of lasagna? They're just going, screw it, I'll stay in the limousine and keep driving.
That's right. Don't bite the hand that feeds you. You know, these colleges, it's ridiculous. The greatest generation's probably laughing at these millennials. I can't even believe people even announce that they're millennials. I think that's kind of a shameful label. I don't even know if you're allowed to label anything anymore. Are people allowed to label you?
I don't identify as a millennial anymore, even though I technically am. I'm choosing not to identify as such.
Okay.
Because apparently I can do that. But really,
you're a self-loathing millennial.
I'm a self-loathing millennial. But like you said, it's contradictory to the point of what college is about in the first place. You go to college to be offended. We see this nonstop at campus reform, how people don't actually care about having their opinions expanded. They just go to college to have them confirmed, and sadly, administrations are allowing that to happen.
Adam, I'll give you the 30 seconds to the last word here. Do you think this is going to make things any better, or do you think we're just headed over a cliff here with this new generation?
I think we'll head over a cliff. I think we'll burst into flames, and then we'll rebuild. The rise of the UFC is because of all this. Why is the UFC the fastest growing sport? Because
boxing was terrible.
Every 5 snowflakes, we want to see a guy in his underpants kick another guy in the head.
Right.
Because that's who we are.
All right, so you're predicting the next generation after millennials are going to be pretty hardcore, grungy Americans. Is that it?
I say flannel-wearing, cage-fighting, but undergoing a sexual transformation. That part won't leave. They'll be undergoing sexual reassignment surgery, but yes.
All right, well, hopefully I'll be dead by then. Guys, thank you very much.